devastating loss to Georgia Tech, where they made significant coaching errors. But Miami, with all of these changes, obviously looking to churn over this roster and upgrade the talent level.
Don't sleep on Rick Pitino. Listen, at the end of the day, the portal is the portal, Mike. Don't matter where you came from, it's where you're going and how much money can you get.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. Mm-hmm. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
sort
Night.
Of has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 3, live right here on this Wednesday on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. It is our third and final hour, but a big final hour here on the show. We've got action in the conference finals in both the hockey and the basketball. I feel like I'm Joe Lisi saying the hockey. In both the Stanley Cup postseason and the NBA postseason tonight. Game number 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals on the ice, not far away from us inside Madison Square Garden between the Rangers and the Panthers. It's game number 1 of the Western Conference Finals in the NBA postseason tonight in Minneapolis between the Timberwolves and the Mavericks. Plenty of previews coming your way in this third and final hour of those two games, and of course some action on this full Wednesday slate around MLB. DRS, what a third and final hour we have in store.
It's nice on Wednesdays, too, because we get that treat of a lot of day games in Major League Baseball, which sometimes can be the bane of my existence here, because I do think the superstition does come into play with the day games as compared to night games here. But we do have two great night games, one in hockey, one in the National Basketball Association. So looking forward to tonight, some great betting opportunities. Now it's up to us to just cash in hour number 3.
We will. We will find you those betting opportunities here in this third and final hour. And maybe that begins with the two duos that will be on center stage tonight in the Twin Cities. Game number 1 of the WCF. It's the Ant-Man and a cat, the two animals for the Timberwolves. It's Luka and Kyrie on the other side for the Dallas Mavericks. No shot at P.J. Washington Jr. or Daniel Gafford, or on the other side, Rudy Gobert or Jaden McDaniels. We just focus on the prime pairs to begin. So we wanted to hear from the people. Who has the better pair? Who has the better duo entering the Western Conference Finals? The T-Wolves or the Mavs? That was the question in Fade the Public. Which duo do you trust more in the Western Conference Finals? Is it Ant and Cat? Is it Luka and Kyrie? And it's nearly a dead even pick'em split here at SportsGrid in our Fade the Public poll. Ant and Cat, 49.5. Luka and Kyrie, 50 and a hook. Donnie, I don't know if you have voted yet, but if you did, if you have not, you might be the tie-breaking vote. Which way you going?
Yeah, by the way, 50.5% to 49.5% right now between Luka and Kyrie, Anthony, and the big cat over here. I actually voted Luka and Kyrie. So theoretically, my vote did count there and help push Luka and Kyrie over. But this is really should be a dead heat. And that's why this was a great poll coming back. The one thing that I only gave the nod to, Anthony, I mean, fantastic basketball player. We know that. Maybe the next rising superstar in the league. Karl Anthony Towns, quality basketball player. So we're not looking at those two guys and saying, like, I don't know if they can get them over the hump. Luka and Kyrie, though, you take a look at Luka. Yes, fantastic basketball player, but Kyrie does have an NBA championship ring here, and that was enough to point me over and vote for Luka and Kyrie. So there you go.
And Kyrie even talked about that after Dallas won in Game 6 over Oklahoma City, finally getting to the conference finals without LeBron. It's just that Luka's been leading him there this time around. Kyrie Irving scored in single digits in 2 of the 6 games against Oklahoma City. Without that stellar second half against the Thunder in Game 6, Kyrie would have stayed under this number of 21.5 in 5 of those 6 games, but he did score 22. So over in 2 of the 6 in that second round set against Oklahoma City. Luka Doncic has been hit and miss, but when he is scoring, when he is shooting well from 3, that's how he goes over 29.5. I had a vote on the losing side, it would seem, for the Ant-Man and a cat, Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, mainly because I trust Anthony Edwards more on this stage than maybe even Luka Doncic at this moment. Anthony Edwards was abysmal by his own account in game number 7 against Denver. Minnesota still found a way to prevail because everybody is balanced, and Jaden McDaniels has been a revelation. But when it comes to this spot, on this stage, if the Timberwolves are going to get to the NBA Finals, it will be because of Anthony Edwards. And I think there's a slight reduction in his points prop at 27.5 that I love for game number 1 tonight. I think the Ant-Man scores at least 30 in this opening game against Dallas, mainly because I think the defensive matchups for Minnesota, the better defensive team in this series over Dallas, actually hamper Luka. As we shared, Jaden McDaniels is going to be on Luka Doncic, as JY predicts. Mike Conley, a veteran defensive savvy guard, on the other side, marking Kyrie Irving. I favor the defensive edge for Minnesota more than I do for Dallas on the other side. I like Anthony Edwards over his points prop in the opening game of the Western Conference Finals. I like Anthony Edwards all series long.
Yeah, if you're trusting defenses in this series coming up, certainly it's going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves, which, again, Minnesota doesn't have to go up against their own defense here in the Western Conference Finals. You're going to go up against Dallas. So I do think scoring for Anthony Edwards should be a little bit easier. But one thing I've loved, man, Luka has been tremendous. And we're led to believe that this isn't even 100% Luka Doncic that we're getting yet.
True.
Maybe a little more extended time from Game 6 to game number 1. He can rest up here. And also talked about the attrition that you're going to have from a 7-game series and an emotional 7-game series that we saw in Minnesota. Now, as we like to say, they're a younger technical team because their superstar is younger here with not a lot of playoff experience. How do you handle that, getting a win over in Game 7 in Denver, the Denver Nuggets, from the reigning NBA champions, and how do you put that foot forward and say, okay, now we got to do it again just to get to the NBA Finals? We'll see what's happening there. But again, just simple for me on the voting process. I love both of these tandems here that we're going up against, and it's apparent that the betting public, they love them both as well, with roughly a 50-50 split here. But again, the only reason I went with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, there's one ring on that side compared to Anthony and Big Cat.
That is very true. Luka Doncic recorded a triple-double in the final 3 games against Oklahoma City. Game 4 wasn't great. Games 5 and 6, absolutely outstanding. 29, 10, and 10 in Game 6 against OKC. 31, 11, and 10 in game number 5. He was also 5 of 11 from deep in Game 5, 4 of 6 from 3 in game number 6. Also had 29 points in game number 2, made 5 threes. Luka Doncic has had 29 or more points in 6 of Dallas's playoff games. Half of the 12 they have played throughout this postseason. 5 of the 6 times he has reached 29. His points prop tonight, 28.5, or is it 29.5 at this current moment? Let me just check to make sure. But either way, when he has reached 29 points 6 times in this postseason run for Dallas, now at 29.5, that points prop for Luka Doncic. In 5 of those 6 games, he has made at least for threes. The volume is always there for Luka. But if he is going to get over 29.5 or even just miss out by the hook, he is going to be hitting from deep. His 3-point prop is 3.5. The over, a ton of plus money at plus 150. If you think and you trust Luka Doncic to have a big opening night in Minneapolis, correlate it with that 3-point prop over 3.5, plus 150 on the juice.
Yeah, and he's been everywhere the past couple games. Had a great triple-double and a not-so-great triple-double, but they still cash the same when you're betting for Luka to get a triple-double. See how that enters into the market. But this series, much like we saw the final game, which was game number 6, against OKC, Kyrie Irving woke up. Took a lot of shots here, a lot of 3-point shots, finally got over that 20-point number. I look for a different series here this time around for Kyrie Irving right off the bat. I think he'll be able to get his shots and his looks, so I'm looking for him to get into the 20s if we're not just looking at the upper echelon here, which is Luka Doncic.
Right. I love DRS also in your breakdown of these dynamic duos. You shared Luka is the guy that you trust for Dallas, and how could you not? Kyrie Irving has a ring. You called Anthony Edwards maybe the next superstar in the association. And then for Karl Anthony Towns, you go, he's a quality player.
Yeah.
He's
borderline.
He's quality. Yeah, he doesn't do much. Doesn't move the needle much for you in the Fade the Public poll. And the public does give the edge to Luka and Kyrie. The daily basis around MLB. Winning segment up next with Craig Mish.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Hendrick ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead, and he was there in two, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that, like, all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What's your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bats.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a minus 115 Canes, Rangers minus 105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The Daily Basis, live right here on this Wednesday, a full Major League Baseball slate around the big, so we go around the diamond with our MLB insider and the host of Newswire that starts at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That is Craig Mish. Craig, thank you for joining us here on this Wednesday, an important few days leading up to Memorial Day weekend, where really the unofficial start of summer begins. And in MLB, it's a time for clubs around the majors to reset and look at what the rest of 2024 will hold.
Yeah, I don't think you see a ton of trades this time of the year from teams, but I definitely do think that organizations take a deeper dive in terms of advanced scouting, Ben. That's really what gets more exercised after the month of May, with going around the league and having your scouts. I mean, they're always traveling and always looking at other teams, but really you start honing in on, if you're a good team, honing in on some of the teams that are at the bottom, thinking they're going to make trades, watching them more closely.
Yeah.
And then it all culminates, of course, with the trade deadline. I know we all wish it would happen sooner, but a lot of money is spent on scouting, and that's what's going to happen in the next couple of months.
And what might happen with the Kansas City Royals? What might Kasey do? 31 wins already for Kansas City. Craig Mish told you before the year, you better bet the over of the win total of 73.5, and Kansas City off to a great start of reaching that over, and not just winning 74-plus games, but contending for a playoff spot in the American League, contending for the top of the American League Central. The Royals have won 5 straight. Day baseball in KC at Kauffman in a great pitching matchup, led on the side for Detroit by Tarek Skubal, the American League Cy Young frontrunner at this moment, off to a sensational start in 2024. And with Skubal on the bump, the Tigers, Craig, a slight road favorite at minus 120. What do you make of this Aces affair with Cole Reagans on the other side for KC?
Yeah, you know me, I don't jump up and down with the picks. I said Skubal, though, would win the Cy Young here at the beginning of the year, too. So I think we're going to hit that one. Yeah, I think we're going to hit that one, too. So I think the story for this game, in looking at it a little bit deeper, look, there's no question that Reagans has been as good as advertised for Kansas City. We know Skubal is the best pitcher, probably. I mean, is it fair to say in baseball? I mean, Imanaga, I guess, has a beef in the NL, but it's close. Like, those two guys have been. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a few. But to me, the real story here is not so much Kansas City, is, guys, the Tigers, if you just simply just bet on their team total under every day, you're doing great. Like, I don't know what is going on with this team. They faced Miami. They got shut out twice. They go to Arizona. They got shut out again. I mean, that's 27 consecutive innings. Then they bounce back with a few runs. But generally speaking, it's just one of the worst offenses in baseball. And it's sort of hard to figure because they do have a lot of talent there. So I really don't know who's going to win this game today, but that would be one angle that I would look for, regardless of how low it is, guys. Over on FanDuel, I'm going to guess it's probably 3.5 or 4. But the Tigers just are really having a hard time with offense, and I don't think it's going to get any better. So that would be my guess for today.
Riley Green maybe to the rescue there for those Detroit Tigers. But if we are taking a look at the AL Cy Young award-winning market here at the FanDuel Sportsbook, Skubal is the prohibitive favorite here, Craig, plus 185, followed by Corbin Burns, who's been very good in Baltimore. Then you see that sort of shelf between Luis Castillo, Cole Reagans, and Pablo Lopez, 14-1, 18-1, and 25-1. Are there anybody outside of Skubal and Burns? Could you see one of those guys picking up? Because I know Tanner Houck's having a very good year here for the Boston Red Sox. He's listed at 30-1 right now.
Yeah, this is a market that I think is sort of open and shut, Donnie. I just don't see a lot of opportunity for other pitchers. And then the other thing that factored in for Skubal with me as far as like a handicap at the beginning of the season is you never know when pitchers have a major injury, how they're going to respond. But this guy missed a decent amount of time with an injury that usually portends to a very solid recovery, which is what Skubal had. He missed almost an entire year plus, came back through his whatever it was last year, 80, 90 innings, whatever it was, and now he has the full workload. Those are the kind of players to bet on after a Tommy John surgery, not the year after, but 2 years after that. It's almost like that player in the NFL that has the ACL surgery. You don't bet on that guy the first year, but the second year he's fully healthy. It definitely appears to be going that way for Skubal. And the other thing, too, is that if he's within that Cy Young Award range, guys, at the end of the season in Detroit, is sort of out of it, you got to wonder if Detroit's just kind of like, let's just give this guy the Cy Young. Let's make sure he gets it, limit his innings at the end of the season, and make sure he's fully healthy for the next year. Skubal will have to win the Cy Young without any run support. The Tigers are just not a good offensive team.
2 games below 500 now for Detroit. The best team in Major League Baseball, that's the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies at home today hosting the reigning champs, the Rangers, who with the loss to Philadelphia yesterday, drop a game below 500. The Phils a favorite at home at the bank tonight, minus 136. Craig, where do you think the story is in this game? Phil's the best team in baseball, 35 wins. The reigning champs, the Rangers, now below 500.
Yeah, 9.5 total tells you that there could be some potential runs scored today. We know that Bryce Harper hit that home run yesterday after doing his prom duty invitation date. So that was really cool to see that. Harper becoming more likable by the day. But I mean, I don't know why anybody doesn't like him, but he is becoming more likable. And on the Texas side, Ben, I think that you gave the data point there is that they had a chance early on in the season to pull away from Houston and even to do a good job against Seattle. They did not. We know they have reinforcements coming, but this has been a disappointing first half of the season for the Texas Rangers. You don't come off the World Series and be under 500 on Memorial Day. So coin flip type game for me today, maybe looking toward an over the 9.5, but nothing strong on that for me.
82 degrees, 9-mile-an-hour winds blowing out in Philadelphia today. And Taijuan Walker, say what you want about that pitching staff. He's been that one spot that's like, questionable here. You might be able to get after him. If we are looking at those AL West odds here, because we've been wanting to remove the Houston Astros out of the equation of 2024, but it's a product of their environment here. If you're just going to let them hang around, they sit at a plus 220 price now, 5 games under 500 to win that division because, as you said, nobody's running away with it, Craig.
No, and again, Texas missed a golden opportunity. I definitely thought they would have been better in the first half, so I do think it'll be a 3-team race. I don't know that 2 teams make the postseason there, so now it's sort of Seattle's to lose at this point. If they can go on a deep run at some point, they're probably going to have to add pieces too, but look out. Here come the Astros again. They let them hang around, and when you let the champs hang around, you know what they do. So still too close to call, but I do think that Houston still very much alive for the postseason.
The Mariners, the only team above 500 with a winning record and a slight odds-on favorite to win the AL West. Craig, thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow and on Newswire starting at 11 a.m. Eastern. More on the early line next.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Hendricks ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead, and he was there in 2, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that, like, all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bad team.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a minus 115 Canes, Rangers minus 105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Around Major League Baseball on this full Wednesday slate, about 5-day games as well in MLB around the bigs today. The New York Yankees entered this week, DRS, hottest team in the bigs, 7 consecutive wins for the Pinstripes. Then they started a series against Seattle. Clay Holmes blew his first save of the year on Monday night. They got rocked yesterday as well. The M's have won both of the first 2 games of this series, but a 4-game set. Can the Yankees get back on track today inside Yankee Stadium?
I think it's a little bit of high price here, minus 164. Now, we know the Yankees are a good team, but it seems like right now Seattle does have their, advantages because they're winning those close games and they're winning those games where they have the lead to start. So maybe a little bit of those edges in the mind right now. Bryce Miller's going to be on the mound today for the Seattle Mariners. Last 30 days, he has struggled a little bit with left-handed batters. So if we're taking a look at those left-handed batters for the New York Yankees, obviously Soto comes to mind with a 262 ISO and a 424 weighted on-base percentage over the past 30 days against right-handed pitching. Alex Verdugo in the middle of that lineup. You should have guys on base when he gets up to the plate. A 188 ISO, which is decent. A weighted on-base percentage, 329, which is average here. Anthony Rizzo also plays in. And also, if you want to get a little tricky here, Austin Wells expected to be in the lineup tonight. 43 at-bats he's had against right-handed pitching as a lefty. 211 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 360. But as we flip it over here to Seattle, it's really pick your poison. The middle of that lineup looks really good against left-handed pitching. However, Nestor Cortez hasn't been that bad this season, Ben. Left-handed pitcher dominating versus lefties, and it's been average against righties here. If you're looking for some of those RBI shots, usually comes from Garver and Rowley in the middle of that lineup. But today, I do think the Yankees slightly better here because I think their lineup presents better against the pitching matchup than the other way around here for the Mariners.
Yesterday inside the friendly confines, winds blowing out, total at 11.5. We even went to an extra inning, and it stayed well under 4-3. The Cubbies walking it off for an opening victory this midweek series against the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta was a favorite last night. The Braves remain a favorite tonight with Max Fried on the bump for Atlanta. On the other side, it's Justin Steele for the Cubbies. Total only at 9. Which way is the wind blowing today at Wrigley?
By the way, the wind is blowing out again today, though. Remember, we were blowing out left field. Now we're going to what? Sheffield Avenue and right field as it's 11 miles an hour and 71 degrees, which is interesting here. Justin Steele coming in, not a lot of innings on the season, but if we focus on the last 30 days, he is really struggling with right-handed batters to the tune of a 372 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 422. You look right in that lineup here to lead off. Ronald Acuna Jr., 250 ISO over the past 30 days against lefties. Marcell Ozuna crushing left-handed pitching to the tune of a 308 ISO and a 507 weighted on-base percentage here. So I like the way the lineup presents for Atlanta going up against Chicago. But if we turn it over and say, well, what do we have on the mound here? Max Fried has been really good. Take a look at his analytics, Ben. 125 batters that he's faced over the past 30 days, an 053 ISO and a 200 weighted on-base percentage. In this entire lineup, we take a look at lefties going against the Cubs, at least the past 30 days. They have been very good at all. The only two bright spots are Morel and Wisdom in the middle of that lineup. Everybody else has been terrible. Should be a Braves day today out in the Wind City.
You got to think the Atlanta offense needs to start picking it up. 12 of the last 14 for the Braves have stayed under. Our guy on the bump yesterday, and we did not even discuss the gas bomb. Robert Gasser for Milwaukee. Not his best outing. He gave up 10 hits over 6 innings, allowing 4 earned runs, but the Brewers did win 7-5 in Miami. Today, it's where the two face off once again. The Brew Crew, a road favorite against the Fish.
Yeah, and by the way, you take a look at some of these numbers. Jesus Luzardo on the mound. Not a great start to the season, but he's been really good over the past 30 days. Now, limited batters, Ben, he's faced, which are 44. Also, power number 023, weighted on base percentage 206. That is really good. Let's take a look at Freddie Peralta, who is a quality major league pitcher, but he has been struggling over the past month here against right-handed batters. The problem is, you don't get too many good looks from lefties or righties in this Marlins lineup. But a guy that's been a bright spot, at least past over the past 30 days, that's Otto Lopez, the young third baseman here. 323 ISO power number and a weighted on base percentage of 461 through 37 at-bats against righties. So you want to get a little tricky there. Otto is your guy today.
I love Otto. You know I love Otto the Orange, so I'll go with Otto Lopez as well. The Guardians on a roll. They've won 5 straight. The Mets are hey now. You're not allowed to say that. The Guardians are on a roll. They've won 5 straight. The Mets are struggling. Cleveland, a favorite today at home, minus 130 to make it 6 in a row. Quickly, DRS. Will the Guardians do that?
I'm just, let's not even handicap the game. The Mets think out loud. So, yes, the Guardians should be able to handle their business today. How's that for a handicap?
All right, well, I appreciate it. Cleveland, a minus 130. Home money line favorite. To the ice we go with none other than Kasey Hudson up next on the grid.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Hendricks ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead, and he was there in two, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that like all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bats.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a minus 115 Canes, Rangers minus 105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
A big night on the ice. The conference finals round of the Stanley Cup postseason starts tonight inside the world's most famous arena. That is Madison Square Garden. We welcome you back to a Wednesday Live right here on the early line, and we welcome on one of our favorites, Kasey Hudson, to break down what we have in both of these conference final series and the chase for the cup still ongoing. Kasey, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on the early line.
Oh my gosh, of course. I hope I'm your favorite because of the Lightning merch that I'm still supposed to send to the pair of you.
Where is it?
You got it, Donnie?
So,
I didn't get it.
I told you guys, it's en route, but it's got to go through a few places first because it's going to be so special.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep an eye out. Even though the bolts are done, I will keep an eye out. But one Florida team is not, Kasey. That is the Panthers. Game number 1 tonight of the Eastern Conference Finals inside MSG. It's an even pick'em right now on the money line. Florida minus 110 the price, minus 110 on the other side for New York. Will the game be as tightly contested, Kasey, as that even dead pick'em on the money line suggests?
Yeah, I think this one's going to be truly neck and neck. You're looking at two teams that match up extraordinarily well. They're both also big second period teams, something to keep an eye on. But where the Rangers kind of pick up a bigger momentum swing is their ability to close out in the third period. Also, when you're talking about a game of inches and seconds, they're 2-1 when trailing after 40 minutes of play, which is tremendous. We've seen them bounce back into tight games quite a bit. So this is a game that can go into overtime in the opening night because of how well these two teams play and battle it out. I love the over 3.5 alt total here just because you don't really know where this game's going to go and how many goals can rack up in that third period. But defensively, both of these teams are tough. Offensively, both of these teams are tough. Schematically, they can serve up different looks. So this is going to be a great series.
It is going to be a great series. And as we take a look at some of these matchups in the series, great players on both sides, great goaltending on both sides. The money line, though, still has Florida at a minus 144 favorite to win this series despite being on the road. We've had a couple days to let this sink in here. Do we still agree, Kasey? The favorite team should be Florida, even though they don't have home ice advantage here.
Yeah, because the scary part about Florida, and I think I said this last week with you guys, is that they are road warriors. So if anything, they're almost a little bit more lethal on the road than they are on their own home ice. And if this goes to 7 games, you're looking at them collecting a W in Madison Square Garden. Also, where they edge tremendously versus the New York Rangers is that they have the better defense here. They have the top defensive pairing. You've got some banged upness between Adam Fox and Lindgren, which can kind of pay a toll on them on home ice eventually. So I do see why the lines are favoring the Panthers here, because when it comes to overwhelming, overworking, and wearing out their opponent, the Panthers have been extremely consistent in those matters.
Kasey, we've been giving out conference finals predictions on the ice the last few days, so now we get yours in the ECF. Who wins between Florida and New York, and in how many games?
This is going to 7 games regardless, at least in my personal opinion. The Panthers are better on both ends of special teams, and plus they've got that pushback rally in the third period, statistically the better goaltender here, and they've got some X factors and playmakers. But the Panthers, they just have this ability to blend up more lines for momentum swings. Paul Maurice can create a variation of different lines and looks to compete against the New York Rangers. They have size on their second and fourth line. They have 2 shutdown lines in their first and fourth line. And again, to that defensive pairing that can outwork and outmatch the New York Rangers' top defensive pairing. Then you're looking at guys like Tarasenko, who played in the playoffs with the New York Rangers last year. You've got a few ex-Rangers on the Panthers side, and I've seen how that plays out in favor of the opposing team. So crazy enough, I do see the Rangers as the best team, but I think that the Panthers can worm their way in there. They were so close last year, and that chip on your shoulder just kind of gives you a leg up.
There you go. Last stand in Madison Square Garden. The Knicks weren't able to get it done. Could the Rangers be the toast of the city? We'll certainly find out. Western Conference Finals action should be an awesome series here as well, Kasey. The Oilers taking on the Stars, a slight favorite. Now, Dallas is the home ice advantage team here over the 7 games. They're a slight favorite at the FanDuel Sportsbook at a -125 price here. Edmonton at a short dog at +104. What can we anticipate from this series with a lot of superstar talent on the ice?
Oh, yeah, you're talking about another offensively high-powered matchup, but something that I can't look away from is the way that the Stars weathered an offensively high-powered team in the Avalanche. Not to mention is how their defense managed star players like McKinnon, Rantanen, and other guys that added and contributed such depth to the Avs scoring roster. They took away some of their key players, too, that were starting to get hot, like Miles Wood and Ross Colton. So to see how they manage that team, I can only imagine their game plan when it comes to attacking the Oilers. And their head coach has been in this position numerous times before, and I think that he's going to be able to coach his team to kind of overcome. My biggest thing always is how Ottinger performs between the pipes. He's been pretty inconsistent when it comes to this portion of the Stanley Cup playoffs, but he stood on his head pretty well versus the Avalanche. The Stars' edge in the better goaltender. Even strength scoring, they're tremendous. They're 8th best on 5-on-5 expected goals in the NHL throughout the season heading into playoffs. And Nurse and whoever he's paired with for the Oilers has been really underwhelming during this entire playoffs. So I think that the Oilers are going to get a little bit more of an offensive battle than they did with the Canucks. Canucks didn't have much scoring depth. The Dallas Stars are known for their scoring depth. Not to mention is that they don't have to rely on special teams to get the job done. Oilers really just have special teams and momentum swings coming after that. So if the Stars blue line and Chris Tanev, who's been outstanding, isolates McDavid, isolates Draisaitl, isolates Bouchard and some other guys, then you're looking at the Dallas Stars taking this one maybe in 6 or 7 games. I'm leaning to 6.
That's what the odds makers are saying right now, +194 for both 6 and 7 games. Dallas opens up the Western Conference Finals tomorrow night on home ice as a slight money line favorite. The Stars have been a little shaky to start at home in each of their first 2 series here in the Stanley Cup postseason. We've got some specials available on the FanDuel Sportsbook for any of these 2 series. To go to 7 games, it's -120. You think New York and Florida gets to 7. Dallas and Edmonton may be getting to 7. Kasey, as you see that graphic, any of those plus money prices catch your fancy?
Oh my gosh, yes. I think one of my favorite ones is the any team to score a game-time goal in the last 30 seconds. We're talking about conference finals. We've seen a number of games where guys, Canucks and Preds, for instance, 6.2 seconds on the clock, they tie things up and push it to overtime. That is what makes hockey so exciting. That's what makes the Stanley Cup playoffs so unique. You're going to see this. Taking it back to that Rangers-Florida Panthers game, you know, Trouba and Miller, if they're paired together, they've allowed some of the most goals as a defensive pairing. So the Florida Panthers are that team that with 15 seconds on the clock can throw a puck in the back of the net and push things into overtime. both the Rangers and the Panthers are really good at forcing overtime chances, and Rangers are really good when it comes to overtime. So I actually like the tying goal at 30 seconds. I even love it at 15 seconds, especially for that Eastern Conference final.
Taking some good cash swings right there. Let's take a look at the Stanley Cup odds here. Not a lot of respect for the President's Cup trophy winners, the New York Rangers. Why? They're a plus 380 price. In last place right now at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Panthers plus 230. Stars plus 240. Edmonton plus 270. Do we agree with these price points here, Kasey?
At this moment in time, yes. Again, I'm not taking away from how amazing the Rangers are and have been, but they're going to face a different battle with the Florida Panthers. They're bullies, and they play a really strong mental game as well, getting in your head, forcing mistakes. And while you don't want to put the Rangers on a lot of special team opportunities, the Florida Panthers can rise to the challenge in that sense. So I have Panther Stars going to the end, and I like these totals.
I just love that as we reach the conference finals round in the NHL's last 4 teams left standing, all 4 teams are separated by only $1.50 in the chase for Lord Stanley's Cup. It is one of the best postseasons in all of sports, and we are seeing that play out on the ice. Kasey, Hudson, as always, we greatly appreciate the time on this Wednesday. I keep checking the mailbox each and every day for my Lightning sweater. I wonder when it's coming.
I got it just for you. Don't forget the special touch. Maybe some signatures or something.
Wow.
I heard Donnie ordered a custom-made Mitchkoff jersey from the Flyers that's on his way to his house as well. He's so fired up. Kasey, as always, we appreciate the time. Preview of game number 1 in the Western Conference Finals in the NBA playoffs next.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Pendrith ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead, and he was there in 2, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that, like, all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What's your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bats.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in Game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I see a minus 115 Canes, Rangers minus 105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Game number 1 of the Western Conference Finals tonight in Minneapolis between the Timberwolves and the Mavericks. Right now, the T-Wolves booked as a 4.5-point favorite on the FanDuel Sportsbook for the opening game of the WCF with a total that currently stands at 206 The atmosphere tonight in the Twin Cities is going to be absolutely electric. This is Minnesota's first trip to the Western Conference Finals in 2 decades, since 2004. Dallas was here just a few years ago, but trying to get to the NBA Finals for the first time in more than a decade. So much at stake in the opening game of this series. Who do you think ends up taking game number 1?
Look, I told you, I'm going to lean towards the Dallas Mavericks and take the 4.5 points here. If we're taking a look at where the betting options are going at the FanDuel Sportsbook, you take a look at the stats, 54% of the bets on the spread are going towards the Minnesota Timberwolves. So it's a pretty nice split here. Nobody running away like 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 tickets here. You roughly have a 50-50 split, which is good. We'll see where it gets to game time. But it's hard, again, in game number 1 to get the feel of a brand new series based on what these two teams just came off of. And I'm sort of leaning towards the Mavericks. A little bit extra time. Didn't have the stress of a game number 7. The Timberwolves had the stress of a game number 7. Took down the reigning NBA champions here. Now they're coming back home. They should be comfortable in that environment. But I look at that price point and say to myself, I could see this game going both directions. A win for the Timberwolves and a win for the Mavericks. So if we're flipping that coin, I'm going to take the points here. I expect big performances out of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. And I think maybe we get off to a slower start for the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's just the way I'm feeling it for game number 1 here, Ben.
Yeah, I think it's a good look, DRS, just to think the Mavericks, who have had a day more off and that rest advantage since Saturday night in Dallas, have made the trip to Minneapolis. They are set. They are ready to go. How does momentum carry over from a road victory in a Game 7 to get back to Minneapolis? I'm not sure that I can say this, but of course, when Charles Barkley mentioned to Anthony Edwards that he hadn't been to Minnesota in 20 years, and Anthony Edwards said, bring your ass, well, everybody is making their way to the Twin Cities. Hope that did not cause an FCC fine for this lovely Sports Grid network. DRS, as we look at the trends of this game on either side, Dallas an underdog 4 times in this postseason so far, 3-1 straight up and against the spread. Dallas has won 2 road games in each of the first 2 series, in round 1 against the Clippers, in round 2, of course, against Oklahoma City. Minnesota has only been booked as a favorite at home. 5 home games now for the Timberwolves. They are both 3-2 straight up and against the number. How do you correlate the result tonight, DRS, to the total? If you think Dallas keeps this game within the number, maybe even steals game 1 outright as the underdog on the road, what does that do to the over-under in your estimation at 206 and a hook?
It's really hard because, again, we're looking at 2 teams coming in here, and I just want to take that environment where we don't know what we're going to get out of the Minnesota Timberwolves, which is really unfair to say. They've been a really good basketball team and just knocked out Denver, but I just feel like sometimes you feel like you got over that mountain, and then you look and be like, oh, no, Ben. I got 2 more mountains to climb over here before I can win an NBA championship, even though you just knocked out the reigning champions here. But for my money, the 206.5, and I've told you this before, and I'll stick with the same game plan. Early in the series, 2 teams feeling each other out, it tends to go over more. Not every possession is do or die like a Game 7 or a Game 6 we're looking to close out here. You don't know everybody's offensive sets just yet. By game number 3, coach is calling out, all right, run play 4. It's like, yeah, we know exactly what's going to happen here. Cat's going to swing to the corner. You're going to have Mike Conley up top. They're going to look for Anthony Edwards over here. And it's like, all right, we can stop that. Maybe you don't see those plays coming right off the bat. So I think it tends more towards an over, which technically would probably play into the Mavericks' hands at this point. When you're a great defensive ball club by Minnesota, yes, we understand they have great performance on offense too, but their calling card is defense here. This game goes over. It means Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving were on it tonight, Ben.
The Timberwolves went over in 3 of their first 4 games in that opening round sweep over Phoenix. But in the 4 wins against Denver, all 4 Timberwolves victories stayed under the number. 206.5 is that total. So let's look at the players that will impact the outcome tonight. I've already said multiple times it is my best bet. Spoiler alert, Anthony Edwards over 27.5. He has scored 27-plus in 7 of the 11 games for Minnesota throughout this postseason run. If they are going to win Game 1 tonight, Ant is the reason why. Jaden McDaniels also catches my attention. Tied for a game-high 23 points in that Game 7 victory against the Denver Nuggets alongside Karl Anthony Town. Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards said during the All-Star break in Indianapolis when comparing to the best teams in the Western Conference and specifically referencing the Suns, said, sure, they got KD, but we got Jaden McDaniels. And I think he mentioned more for what McDaniels has done on the defensive end of the floor, but he has been great. And I mean great here in this postseason for the T-Wolves. Maybe the scoring not all that important for McDaniels tonight, as JY predicts our coach, that Coach Chris Finch is going to line up for Minnesota, McDaniels to mark Luka Doncic.
Yeah, no, it makes some sense here, and we'll get those feelings out right away. So by games 2 and 3, we'll have a better feel in the series overall, wins and losses or from a side perspective. If I'm looking at some player props tonight to sort of dig into, Kyrie Irving and Karl Anthony Towns make some sense to me. I think they'll both be active from the three-point line. You could take 2 looks here. If you go Kyrie Irving over his 2.5 3-point shots and Karl Anthony Towns to make 2, that's about a plus 170 price. But if you want to dumb it down a little bit here, which I think makes a lot of sense, a minus 110 price here on a parlay. Kyrie Irving to make 2 3-point shots, along with Karl Anthony Towns to make 2 3-point shots. That's a minus 110 price. I really like that bet a lot. You're not going to get that sexy 3, 4, or 5 to 1 ticket, but it's an honest minus 110 here that I think cashes in.
PJ Washington, a guy that was huge for Dallas in the middle of that second round series against Oklahoma City. 21 plus in games 2 through 4. But in games 1, 5, and 6, 10 points or less. His points prop tonight, 12.5. We will see how much he needs to do from the offensive perspective to keep Dallas in this basketball game. 29.5 is the number for Luka Doncic, who has scored 29 plus in 6 of the 12 games for the Mavericks. Half of their playoff games, Luka has scored 29. In 5 of the 6 games scoring 29, Luka Doncic has made at least 4 threes. His 3-point prop tonight, 3.5. The over has plenty of plus money at plus 150. If you think Luka Doncic flirts with 30, he does so because he is good from 3-point range. I would also take the over at plus 150 of that 3-point number. Some further discussion around the Western Conference Finals and a best bet up next.
A surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Hendrick ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a 1-shot lead, and he was there in 2, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Do Leafs fans stop watching hockey now, or do they root for other Canadian teams, Cam?
No, I'm not a proponent of that, and it's actually kind of bothered me that like all the people in Toronto are kind of like, oh, now I'm going to cheer for the Oilers. Like, why? What was your affiliation with the Oilers? Like, Canucks still exist. Like, I don't lose automatically and say, yeah, you know, I'm going to cheer for the Ottawa Senators because they're Canadian. No, I cheer for my bats.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
A lot of books, and outside of the New York area, the Canes are actually favored in game 1 of this series. I'm seeing it right now. I'm looking. I see a minus 115 Canes, Rangers minus 105.
I like the 6 and 7 games prop, like I took with Boston, Toronto, which we now know is going to cash. I think it's got a chance to go the distance. It's going to be a long, tough, close series.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The opening game of the Western Conference Finals tonight in Minnesota, the Timberwolves and the Mavericks. Donnie, you have said a few times you expect Dallas to ride some momentum from game number 6, and maybe some of the momentum back to Minneapolis for the T-Wolves is stemmed after game 7 in the Mile High City. You think Dallas keeps this game close, 4.5-point underdog if they're going to stay within that margin, maybe win this game outright, plus 158 on the money line. Plus 142 is the number for the Mavericks in the outright price to win the Western Conference crown over Minnesota, the series underdogs before game number 1. If Dallas does win game 1 tonight on the road, what does that do for your outlook on the WCF overall?
Look, I don't think it's like over, and obviously it shouldn't be if you're down 0-1, which is why sometimes you still have that thought process. Okay, what if Dallas does go in and steal game number 1 in Minnesota? I would expect Minnesota to win game number 2, and then we have an even series heading back to Dallas. That's why I won't be surprised. Also, theoretically, you can lose this game and still cover, but that's not really the angle that you want to play at 4.5. You can play that angle like you saw last night with Indiana. Hey, I don't think they win that basketball game, but I'll take the 10 points gladly here and see what happens. That worked out in spades. So I'm sort of looking at that same type of environment where Minnesota's on their home court, feeling good, won that game number 7. Dallas comes in with a really strong effort tonight, backed on their 2 superstars playing extremely well. That's just the vibe I have going for this game. I had a much better feel yesterday, as I told you. I really like that team total over for the Boston Celtics. This game giving me a little bit more, contemplation on which way I want to go, some more of that prop market style. But again, I'll go with the Dallas Mavericks with the 4.5 here.
So the series total games market is interesting. 5 and 7, second shortest at plus 226 is 2-1. In the correct score market, though, the Timberwolves to win this series in only 5 games, that's 4 games to 1, is plus 360, the shortest number, followed by Minnesota in 7 at 4-1. Probably baking in the idea of home court advantage. Don't love either of those prices. There is some heavy juice on the series games market, the over-under of games played in the Western Conference Finals at 5.5. The over has that VIG at minus 175. I don't mind that juice, though, for a series that I believe goes either or at least to 6 games. It's hard for me to pinpoint who wins the series, but I don't think this is done in only 5. So that's game number 1 of the Western Conference Finals tonight. Again, Minnesota booked as a 4.5-point home favorite, total at 206.5. The Timberwolves have only been booked as a favorite this postseason at home, never more than 4 points. Tonight is actually the largest spread in their favor at 4.5. So now we give you a best bet on this Wednesday evening. Could be MLB, could be NHL, could be the NBA as well, or some others, maybe like the WNBA on this Wednesday. So before we say farewell and before we say goodbye, it is time for that best bet. It's time for bye. A full Major League Baseball slate on this Wednesday. What is your best bet?
Let's take a look at the Atlanta Braves and the Chicago Cubs going back to Wrigley. Nice conditions, 70 degrees with the wind blowing out to right field. But I'm going to go with an RBI prop here on Marcell Ozuna. It's at a plus 110 price. The reason being, Justin Steele struggled as a left-handed pitcher against right-handed batters, particularly over the past 30 days. Ozuna coming in with a sparkling ISO power number of 308 and weighted on base percentage of 507. But also keep in mind, in order to get an RBI without the home run, you got to have guys on base. Ozuna and Albies also have very good weighted on base percentages against left-handed pitching over the past month. We're going to get an RBI today from Marcell Ozuna at a plus 110 price.
I like the look, DRS. The Braves need to start winning games. They've dropped 5 of their last 6, and Atlanta's offense needs to be on the upswing as well. Under for the Braves in 12 of their last 14. The only team in MLB with an under percentage this year of 65% or higher. I go game 1, Western Conference Finals tonight in Minnesota. I've said it a few times. I reiterate it. Anthony Edwards over 27.5 points. 27 plus in 7 of the 11 games played in this postseason for the Timberwolves. If Minnesota wins game 1 tonight, if Minnesota even wins outright, let alone covering as a 4.5-point favorite, Anthony Edwards is the reason. I think he bounces back from what he called a trash performance in game number 7 in Denver to find his way to at least 28 tonight. I like the defensive matchups in favor of Minnesota against Dallas more than I do for Dallas versus Minnesota, if that makes sense. And if you are looking at Luka Doncic, I remind you, if you think he gets close to 29 in a hook, he probably does so because he shoots it well from deep. His 3-point prop is 3.5. The over plus money at plus 150. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. That does it for us on this Wednesday. Live right here on the early line on Sports Grid. We'll talk to you tomorrow, a Thursday on TEL. It starts at 8 a.m. Eastern.